Hi guys, it's Vanessa from To The Brim and Squeeze a Day. I haven't been on in a while. I wanted to do what's going to probably be a couple of videos for people who are considering, wondering about, freaked out about trying farmers markets, craft fairs, pop-up shops, things like that. I had never done any of that before, and now I'm a part of 3 different farmers markets and that I do every week. And so I'm here to tell you what you're going to need to get started, some things that I've learned, some things that I've already started doing differently, and give you kind of a pep talk about how it's going to be when you're starting a business and you go from selling on Etsy or to friends and family to selling in person to people. So the first thing is look online, talk to people, and find out where's the local farmers market, where's the local craft fair that's going to be happening. Talk to, let's say you know somebody that runs a salon or something. You could talk to them and say, hey, could I do a pop-up shop at your salon? Probably you can. There are places where you cannot do them. Most of the time, agencies, or like if you work for a school or a hospital or something like that, there's a general policy about solicitation, so you wouldn't be able to set up a pop-up shop in the lobby of a school that you work at, or things like that. Maybe you know someone who rents a shop on a given street. You could go to them and say, could I have a pop-up outside your store? That kind of thing. Basically, you're going to need some things, right, to bring with you when you do a market or a fair or a pop-up. And most of the time, people get a 10 by 10 tent. Now, I'm going to link all of the things that I purchased to make a booth. That's my 10 by 10 tent. It's 2 6-foot folding tables. I got 2 black tablecloths from Amazon that fit the 6-foot banquet folding tables. You have to make it as store-ish, so here's the thing. Your booth, your little 10 by 10 spot is a store. It's your storefront. So think of it that way. And that 10 by 10 spot is your opportunity to make it a representation of yourself and what you're selling, and set that vibe, set that aesthetic, put out there your little piece of the world that people can enter and get a feel for who you are and what your business is all about. I got just some regular folding bag chairs at Walmart. Then I went to TJ Maxx. I looked around for other things at TJ Maxx that I thought went with what I sell. So I got a But First coffee sign. I went to Michael's and I got several of the rectangular crates and painted them and glued them together and put an anchor and put a shelf and just did all kinds of things to make a display. And I can insert pictures because basically what's happened over the last month is that I realized that you have to unpack and pack these things over and over and over and over again. So your display has to be functional and beautiful, but it also has to be something you can transport. And unfortunately, the first display that I made was beautiful. It would have worked better if it was in a store, but because it's something that I had to put in and out of my car, it was the clunky thing with the weird angles that was always getting things broken off of it or whacking into things or not fitting properly. And so I modified it. I still use it, but I modified it. And I'm going to be doing some more modifications. So don't be afraid to change things around. There's absolutely no rule that says that the first time that you set up, you have to have the same display and setup that you have as time goes on, because each time you go to a market, you're going to learn something. You're going to be like, oh, I should have done that differently, or you're going to tweak things during the market. You're going to just sit there and look at it and things like that, and you're going to realize that there are things that are going to evolve with your booth just as things evolve within you and with your business. I'm going to show you the things in links below that I used. I also have a lot of pictures. So I do a farmer's market on Wednesday, a different farmer's market on Thursday, and a different farmer's market on Friday. And I'm going to be selling in a different town with a girl who I met at one of the farmer's markets who sells bread, and we struck up a conversation, and I'm going to be selling at the same spot that she sells at. It's not a farmer's market. She has a hookup, and she has graciously allowed me to do that with her. What I can tell you is that you want to make sure that whatever you're bringing, you can do it by yourself, because maybe you have a spouse, maybe you have a sister, maybe you have a best friend, maybe you have a kid that's old enough to help you. There's going to be a time where everything falls through and you're alone, and you need to make sure, even if you set it up in your driveway beforehand, which is another thing that I highly suggest, is set everything up and break it all down and make sure that you can lift. If you can't lift the 6-foot table once it's folded in half, get a 5-foot table, get a 4-foot table, get a bunch of 4-foot tables. You have to be able to put together and take apart everything that you take to the farmer's market. Now, I sell pottery, so I have a lot more stuff to bring and set up than a lot of people do. I've noticed that a lot of people, let's say there's someone who sells jewelry. They have one table, they have a tent that's not a 10 by 10, it's a smaller tent than that, and a backdrop, and they have jewelry displays on that one table, and all of that jewelry will fit into one little tote in their car. So they have one table, one chair, one tote, their tent, that's it, good to go, right? And then there's somebody who, like me, has 2 6-foot tables, my 10 by 10 tent, tablecloths. I have a tote that has the miscellaneous things like hangers, S-hooks, clips, things like that. I have a display for my wax melts, which is a spinning display. So I dismantle that. I have the pegs the little prongs that go into the thing, and all my wax melts are in a separate bag because those come in the house every time because they can't be out in the car because they'll melt. So those are all in one spot. I have my sign, which is probably 5.5 by 1.5 feet, and then that's wood. And then I have my mugs, and I have my tie-dye. Just get insurance. Get insurance. If you do anything, get insurance, okay? So there's that. But so what I'm saying is you're going to have a different amount of stuff than I do. You may have more depending on what you sell, and you may have less. There are people who sell baked goods. So you're going to have a different amount of stuff depending on what you're bringing that week. There are people who do all things that are like crocheted or sewn or things like that. Those things can literally just be thrown in a tote and like thrown in the car. So my stuff is fragile. So there's like an order of the way that I have to pack things, right? And all the mugs have to be packaged, wrapped in paper and put somewhere safe every single time. So that's the basics of what you need. I'm hopefully going to edit this way down because I'm sure that you're already going like, we get the point. Okay, so what's going to happen when you go to the farmer's market? I'm going to put some pictures in here at some point showing you my first farmer's market, the first $10 that I made. The girl took a picture of me because I was so excited. I was literally crying. And I think I've taken a picture of each time I've set up at each market. Maybe not, but I might have. So I'm going to do a montage at some point with those pictures. So here's the other thing. If this is going to be, so I'm good talking to people. I don't have a problem talking to people. If you are nervous, I have a friend who came with me, or she met me the first day because I was like shitting my pants. I was like, oh my God, I was like freaking out. For nothing, but I was freaking out. And she's like, I'll come after I go to the gym. I'll come sit with you. And so I had to go to the bathroom. And so she was at my booth, and she was kind of going like, oh God, I hope nobody comes. And somebody did come. When I was like walking back over, somebody was there, and she was like pretending that they weren't there, right? So everybody's got a different comfortability with people. And so assess that within yourself before you go. I'm a people person. I have no problem conversing with strangers. I don't get nervous about that. I have anxiety, but not really social anxiety. So you're going to have people, if you are crafting an item, you've set your price point, right? I was thinking about this earlier. If, okay, let's say I made this mug for my nephew, okay? He doesn't know that, hopefully. I'm sure that they don't watch these videos, but so I made this for my nephew, and he's going off to college, so I'm going to mail this to him, right? Okay. So this is a humongous mug, and it is absolutely beautiful, right? If I were going to sell this mug, it would be a $40 mug, $45 mug, right? It probably holds 20 ounces, okay? So I had an experience last week where it was the first time at one of the markets that I did, and this guy came along, and I was chit-chatting with him. He was already kind of a weird guy that I got a weird vibe from anyway. I make some like tumblers that are like for wine or whatever, and those are $20. They don't have a handle or anything. They're like for wine, or you can stick your toothbrushes in it or pens or whatever. So those are $20. Those are the cheapest. That's the cheap end of what I sell. And he said, "Oh, I broke my mug last night." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Would you spend $20 on a mug?" And I said, "Well, yeah, if it was handmade, I would." And I wanted to say to him, actually, I purchased 2 mugs from a girl that I follow on Instagram who's college age, and she has found pottery, and I think that it's amazing to support other creators. And so I bought 2 of her mugs in the last month, and they were like $23 a piece plus shipping. So yeah, I've probably spent $55 towards her business in the last month. Of course I'm going to spend $20 on something that somebody made because I understand what goes into it. So keep that in mind. If you sell high-end candles, if you sell high-end pottery, if you sell high-end bath and body stuff, if you sell high-end jewelry, if you sell anything that is, more than $5, people are going to roll their eyes. Oh, well, and that's the other thing. I've met some amazing people at these farmers markets. I love everyone that I've met. Everyone is like-minded, and I feel like I belong, and it's wonderful. Like, I absolutely love it. I have met people who I can see myself growing to be extremely good friends with. I've met people who I'm like, you're me. You're like me. Like, we're the same person, right? Okay. So there's a lot of that. And so let's say somebody sells jelly, and I sell tie-dye, and they are like, "Hey, could I have this hat, and I will give you, 2 jars of jelly." It's, this like a price for price kind of a swap. If you want to do that, go ahead. I think that's wonderful. Like, I plan on doing that all the time. But if somebody comes to your booth and is trying to like dicker with you about the price of your item, no. And here's story time. The first time that I did a farmer's market, it's a pretty decent sized market. I was by myself, and I sat there, and the longer that I sat there, and it was maybe only an hour before somebody bought something, but that entire time I was second guessing how much I priced everything. And I went around and I was like decreasing the price of everything. I was like making new tags for everything. I was like decreasing the price of my hoodies and decreasing the price of my pottery. And I was like, oh my God, things are so overpriced because one person looked at a $30 mug and made a face and put it down. Fast forward a month, I've sold enough $30 mugs that I had a panic attack because I was like, shit, I have like 10 things left to sell, and I have so you're fine. Because for every person who comes along and rolls their eyes and could just go ahead and go to Walmart and get themselves a $3 mug that's going to work perfectly fine for them, or go to this guy who commented, would you spend $20 in a mug? I wanted to say the dollar store is right over there. Go buy a mug for $1. Like, if you just need a mug, go buy a mug for $1. Because essentially, if you're handcrafting anything, it doesn't matter what it is. You're creating art in a sense, and you're putting your soul into it. So you're worth more. What you have made is worth more. This mug is a piece of art that somebody can use every day. So yeah, this is worth a lot more than something that I have plenty of dollar store mugs, like sentimental mugs that I will never get rid of that I still use. They're worth $1 monetary wise, right? This is not a $1 mug. You know, if somebody comes up to you, somebody comes up to me and is like, oh, I really like this mug, but can you make it for me in pink? I need to have it by Friday. No. And it's okay that you can say no, because first of all, it's not humanly possible. And you have plenty of things that that person can like. And if they do want to commission a piece from you, then they need to just pay for it up front, and you give them, you know, a realistic time frame of when they can come back to that market and get this thing that they want. And you have that conversation with them and you say, okay, this is $45. You tell me what colors you want. It will be this size. I will do the colors that you want. I will have it done in 3 weeks, right? You want to add a little extra time, because I have found that doing 3 markets a week, and then if I do this Saturday thing, that's 4 days a week that I'm schlepping my stuff somewhere and sitting outside, and it's hot out, and you're not always going to feel like making when you get home, because you want to make when you're in a good space. You don't want to make when you're in a bad space. And here's the other thing. Don't be pushy, right? When people come to your booth, let them look, greet them. I always say, hello, how, you know, good morning, things like that. And then just wait. If they have questions, they're going to ask you. If somebody is, I had somebody trying on a sweatshirt and it didn't fit her perfect, but like if she really loved it, then she probably could have pulled it off, but it didn't really fit her great. And I could tell she didn't love it. She wanted it and she almost bought it. I said, that doesn't seem to be like the perfect thing. Like that doesn't seem to be calling your name. So keep looking. Like it's okay to keep looking. And she's like, thank you so much. And she tried on a bunch of other things and like nothing worked out. And that's okay. I do not put my blood, sweat, and tears into my pottery or my ice dye or choosing sentimental scents for my wax melts for somebody to sort of like something, me talk them into buying it, and then have it in their junk drawer, the bottom of their closet, something that they're just like, oh, here's some other piece of shit thing that somebody talked me. No, do not be like that. As far as packaging my orders, I have little bags. These are the little bags, so this will fit a mug. Sorry, it was out. I got my winter tires off today, and so for once took all my stuff out of my car, and it was in my driveway, and then it downpoured. So these bags got waterlogged. Deal with it. So these are small bags with, I put 2 pieces of tissue paper inside, so it's ready to go. I can use this as a gift bag, or this is how I just package up my stuff, and I put my logo on there. And then I have bigger bags because people might buy clothing, or they might buy 2 mugs or a mug and some wax melts. And I got these small bags for 1 mug. This will fit 1 mug. But each of my bags has my logo and it has tissue paper in it. And you wouldn't believe the appreciation that people have, especially if they're buying a gift for someone. It doesn't cost a lot to do that. It's something that I want to do because I know that presentation is very important, and that's just something that is important to me. The other thing that I would say is to definitely get a square. I do have a Venmo sign and Venmo set up, but I haven't had anybody use it. And I have a PayPal QR code, which I did try one time. It didn't go through, and the woman had to PayPal me like 2 days later. I was like chasing her down to pay me because it just wouldn't go through, because you're not going to have cell signal everywhere you go. At some obscure market down a road somewhere, you know, in the middle of nowhere, there may not be cell signal, so you may not be able to use your Square or Venmo or PayPal QR. But the Square has been amazing because there are people that don't necessarily have cash, or if they're going to spend $75, maybe they don't want to use all their cash because they just got to the farmer's market and they want to keep looking. So if they can put that $75 on their debit card or a credit card, you're able to sell your items, but they're also able to keep their cash for maybe food, ice cream, you know, something small, hot sauce, whatever they find along the way. So basically, those are the first tidbits of wisdom and info that I'm going to give you. I'm going to do a series because there's a lot. What I can say is, please don't be afraid to branch out. The best feeling that I had in the year that I've had my business was when I had that first in-person sale, And I had someone come back the next week and be like, oh my gosh, I use my mug every single day. I use it for wine, I use it for tea, I use it for coffee, I use it for everything. I love it so much. Or someone bought a hoodie and they went on vacation and people were like, oh my God, where'd you get that hoodie? And she's like, oh, it's handmade. I got it in Vermont and da 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 da. That made me feel like it's worth it for all the, you know, bumps in the road that you have when you're like I said, my stuff, all of my wrapped mugs and all of my paper and everything was out in the rain today. Did not even shed a tear. Okay. Who cares? The bags will dry. It's freaking fine. I'll rewrap my mugs in new paper. It's fine. I did not let it bother me. But that's pretty much it for today. I just want to bring you guys along. I just want to help anybody who's on the fence or nervous understand that it's completely doable. You can do it, and you're going to feel so good when somebody buys something from you for the first time. You're going to have this feeling of like, oh my gosh, like this has all been worth it, because it's different selling on Etsy. I do pretty good on Etsy, but that first sale that I had in person was so validating to me, like so validating. So I want you to feel that too. I want to support you and your new journey and your success and trying new things. And so hopefully that this was helpful for you. I will be making a video of which fragrance oils have I repurchased, would I repurchase, which ones do I like, which ones, we all know that ones that I've thought smelled like doo-doo. But there are several that I have purchased more than once and several that I sell. And I will share those with you too, because why not? This was my first setup, and I think it looked really great. As you'll see over time, I've gotten rid of some of the clunky display items like that two-tiered thing. And I think that each market that I go to, I learn a little bit more about what customers want to see. And that's the other thing. You want to set your stuff up and then go across the street and walk towards your booth, or go to the other end of the farmer's market and walk towards your booth. You want to see what people are going to see from all different angles. If you're eating, put your food away when somebody comes. If you're looking at your phone, put your phone down when somebody comes. You want them to feel like you're being attentive and that you're happy to see them. So this montage is the 3 different markets that I do. So each setup is a little bit different, and I hope that you are able to get some ideas from this. And at the end here, we're going to have a video. I did a walk around of my Friday farmers market last week, and you can get an idea of the setup as well as where I put things at the end. My clothes gets hung up, and my mugs at this market, I did really well on Wednesday, and so at my Friday market, I really didn't have a lot of pottery, so I moved my totes over here and put clothes on it because there wasn't enough pottery to use those. That's my husband. And I got this wax melt display on Amazon, and that's that clunky display that I was telling you about. I've modified it a little bit, but I hope that this was helpful and that you can get some inspiration from the way that I set up my tent. And as you'll see, there's my perspective and some of the crap. Okay, if you enjoyed this, think about subscribing and click the notification bell so that you are notified when I post videos. My channel is growing all the time, and I love being able to make new friends and communicate with you guys. It really makes my heart happy, and squeeze the day.